Was this not a double earthquake, 7.2 and 7.5? Was it one 7.8? There is a new study that studied yesterday's earthquake, and that is very interesting because that changes the story. I will tell you about that. I will show you the latest images. They flew with a helicopter over all these collapsed buildings, and the ones that are still standing are about to collapse. It looks like a war zone, like a blast zone, but about these buildings, there's more to that. And I'm showing you videos when the earthquake happened from the inside, from the outside, and one very, very interesting video. And let's start with that. It's inside a tower. And I will also remember you if you've seen my last video where the guy was coming down the stairs. So think about this when you see this video. What happens when the people are coming down the stairs? This is quite scary, I have to say, because when you see that, you don't know, what is this? Is this a bearing column? Is this just something, a room or anything? But it looks like some substantial structural thing is breaking apart here. But before I show you more videos, I'm showing you the aerial pictures in the background while we talk about this double quake. New analysis says it could be a very complex single quake with magnitude 7.8 in Venezuela. So this is a devastating earthquake/earthquakes. So our prayers go out to the people in Venezuela. It's hard to imagine, but I guess many of us, we have to imagine this. I'm living on the Cascadia subduction zone, magnitude 9 plus earthquake. Many of my viewers live in California. That is overdue for the big one. And Oregon coast, Washington state, British Columbia, Canada. That is just one example. Japan is dealing with it, but they're way better prepared than we are. So USGS Geological Survey, USGS, has so far classified the event as 2 strong earthquakes within a minute, within 39 seconds, first magnitude 7.2 and then magnitude 7.5. A new analysis by GEOSCOPE, the IPGP, the Institut de Physique du Globe de Paris, so arrives at a slightly different conclusion. And that is really interesting. So why do they come up with that theory? So they say, therefore, the supposed double earthquake could be better described as one single, very complex earthquake with a moment magnitude of 7.8. So what does that mean? In very large earthquakes, a fault doesn't always rupture in one single sudden movement. We know that. So the rupture can propagate over many seconds or even minutes. And the shaking was very long here. I mean, if it was 2 after 39 seconds, so this is a continuous shaking, you don't even realize it's 2 probably. So, okay, rupture can propagate over many seconds or even minutes. We know that. So that can generate several strong partial ruptures along a fault line. So for automatic earthquake detection systems, this can initially appear as 2 separate earthquakes if there are significant energy jumps within the rupture. So it's rupturing stronger and stronger, something like this. So, but if we look at later source models, they sometimes reveal that when we count several, that it was one continuous multi-phase rupture process. It would make sense because they were so within 39 minutes, and then in this same, it's not the same, it's logarithmic. So 7.2 and 7.5 is way stronger than 7.2, but still, in a similar range. We did not have like 1.5 and then a 7.5 within 39 seconds. So this is precisely what the new SCARDEC analysis suggests right now. So the source time function shows several strong pulses lasting approximately 2 minutes, which then propagated eastwards along the northern Venezuelan fault zone. So with a magnitude of 7.8, if it was just one, this pulse was even significantly stronger than initially assumed. And that makes a huge difference. Listen carefully. This is actually scary, but when we see the images, what happened, the destruction, let me know, does that make sense? So 7.8 versus 7.5, that's 0.3 difference. 0.3 magnitude units does not sound like much, but it will blow your mind when you hear what I'm about to tell you. For the seismic waves, the shaking amplitude, and that is important, 7.8 versus 7.5 is about 2 times stronger. 2 times stronger, but it gets even more intense. For the total energy released, 7.5 versus 7.8, about 2.8 times more energy. This is crazy, but it is. So 7.8 is not just a little bigger than a 7.5. It releases almost 3 times more energy, and then the shaking waves are about twice as large. And then before we even factor in the depth of the epicenter, the distance, the soil, and building quality, liquefaction, before all that even enters the picture. What is going to be very interesting in the coming days? What is the USGS going to do? Will they adjust to that theory? Because we can say, initially it was described as 2 strong earthquakes. It may, upon closer examination, turn out to be a long, very complex 7.8 with multiple rupture phases. And USGS, maybe they confirm that. We need more detailed source analysis, but they will likely not be available in the next few hours. Probably it takes days. But that doesn't change the seriousness of the situation. On the contrary, it better explains why this earthquake had such a high potential for damage and has affected a comparatively large area as well. And while we go on to the next topic, I want to show you this video here of an elderly couple, and it's very cute when he feels that the earthquake is starting, what he does with her. So watch that while I want to tell you more about what the current situation is. Many residents in Caracas, they still recall the terrifying moments when the earthquake struck. They say they're still trying to process the moments of terror that they experienced, with many awaiting further information and remaining in the streets as the building damage is assessed. And I mean, we've seen this. So many buildings, they're still standing, but they have been shot at with missiles and whatever. So they are not stable at all. And they said about the noise, that is also very interesting that the quake made. They said the noise was like a locomotive, like a train, not to mention the dust that was kicked up in the street. Absolutely. USGS has initially estimated we're dealing with lost people, about 10,000, even maybe 100,000 is possible. What we're getting right now is at least 188 lost, 1,500 injured, but there's thousands missing. So I think these numbers, unfortunately, I so hope that this will not change, but I think we have to be realistic about this. So what happened today is they confirmed what I just said, but they also said it is expected to climb much higher as rescue teams work to find people trapped under the rubble. And yeah, leaders from around the world have offered condolences and pledged support as Venezuela recovers, including $150 million in aid from the US. Acting President Delcy Rodriguez has toured affected areas and declared declared a state of emergency. Simon Bolivar, that is a problem. International airport in the capital, Caracas, has been closed due to the earthquake damage. I've shown you the video of the airport in my last video. I'll put my last video on the end screen if you want to see more videos of the damage. I don't want to repeat these videos here in this videos. 8 groups have warned that the earthquakes could heap further strain on government services and the country's fragile economy, already struggling for years. So problem is now. And that's, I want to point that out. Venezuelans that are living in the US, they are organizing aid, but they face obstacles. There's thousands living in the US, and they have been organizing to send aid to their earthquake-stricken homeland. But the problem is the damage to the main airport in Caracas, it's closed. That could really hamper the effort. So we will have to see how that turns out. We have another resident that has recounted his experience. He said, at first I thought it was some neighbor that was using the drill outside the renovation schedule. Well, we hoped that this would have been the case. He said, but then I heard the window shaking and I understood that I was in the middle of an earthquake. He says he grabbed his electronics and ran to shelter in the doorway to his girlfriend. And he said, at that moment, I think the second earthquake began. And at that moment, the shaking was much stronger, that I just felt the need to run through the hallway and go down the stairs and get out of the building. Absolutely, because that resident said that he had grown up learning about the 1967 earthquake that destroyed Caracas. And so he said, I just didn't imagine that I would live through something like that. Interesting is that Turkey and Venezuela have discussed aid in a call, and Turkey just has in 2023 gone through something like that with devastation. It was a friend of mine actually was there to help, and the pictures that he has shown me, it leaves you speechless. The devastation, it's like it tops images that I recall as a German from the World War, how destroyed everything and how destroyed the cities were. So this is how this looked. So I think it's good that they're talking, because Turkey has experience with something like this, because this is now not only, okay, towers, buildings have collapsed, they have to tear down, implode all the towers that are still standing that are so heavily damaged. This is a lot. This is basically a whole city you have to restart from the scratch in many areas. Another resident reports it seems there was an alarm on the mobile phone. He said, I heard the alarm on the mobile phone. There was an uncomfortable pause. Then the building began to shake violently. His 3 dogs started beneath the beds, terrified and trembling, he says. Then he took shelter beneath a door frame and began to pray while everything was shaking. And he said, I thought I was going to die. You could hear pieces of concrete breaking off the walls. And that is the frightening thing, right? What do you do? And after what you see, what happened to these towers, I mean, duck, cover, and hold on doesn't help. You just try to get out and run. So this is the strongest earthquake that hit Venezuela since 1900. If it's a 7.8, well, that remains to be seen how that does then. While I'm speaking, I just get the news. 235 people lost, 4,300 people injured, but again, they say many more people are feared to have been lost. Others are left homeless. They're absolutely too afraid to stay in the damaged, unsafe buildings. They're sleeping on the streets in their cars if their cars are not covered in rubble. So this is the critical phase after the earthquake. You need to get critical aid in there, clean water, infrastructure, get the people help. Sanitary conditions worsen very, very quickly. But with the airport closed, with road blocks and landslides, I've shown you a landslide in my last video, this is not that easy. Nearby hospitals report that they are already overwhelmed as well. Another resident, that is interesting, he said he felt like his house was going to split in two, and that's what these houses did, right? Another one said the world was moving for a long time, and it felt like one massive long earthquake. Yeah, that maybe that's what it was. I will keep you updated about this. If you want to see more videos, check that video in the end screen. It has that video of the man from the top of his tower running down the stairs. And what happens? I was surprised how it starts looking the further down he comes. It was unexpected. A lot of interesting stuff is in there as well. So be prepared, be safe. And our hearts go out to the people in Venezuela. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.